Good morning, boys and girls. This morning we are working on rounding decimals. Our objective for our math lesson today is that I can round decimals to any place. So we're going to get started on that. Before we do, I just want to let you know that this is very similar to when you round whole numbers, right? So we're going to practice with a whole number and then we'll get started with decimals. If I had the number 567 and I told you I wanted you to round it to the tens place, the first thing you're going to have to do is tell me which digit is in the tens place in 567. The 6, right? So we would look at that 6 and say we need to go to the right one digit to know if our 6 needs to go up or stay the same. So the 7 is going to tell us what to do with that 6. We look at our 7, is our 7 5 or greater or 4 or less? It's greater than 5, right? So that tells us that that 6 needs to go up. What comes after 6? What will our 6 go to? 7. Our 5, the numbers in front, stay the same. The 6 becomes a 7. And what does that 7 become? That's right, guys, it becomes a 0. So when we round 567 to the tens place, we get 570. We're going to do the same thing, but we're going to be using numbers that have decimals. So let's get started. Right at the top, we have the rules of rounding, right? We just kind of went over it. You find your place. So we're going to find the place that we're rounding to. We're going to look next door to the right. If that number is 5 or greater, we add 1 more. So we make our number that we're rounding to go up. All digits in front stay the same. So any number in front or to the left of the number we're rounding to stays the same no matter what, right? All digits behind zeros their name. All digits behind the number that we're rounding to are going to become 0. So let's practice. We have 5 and 892 thousandths. We're rounding to the hundredths place. That's our 9. Okay, so when we round to the 9, we need to go next door to our 2. Is 2 5 or more or 4 or less? 4 or less. So our 9 does what? Stays the same. So any number to the left of that 9 always stays the same. So 5.8, we said that our 9 is going to stay the same because it was, our 2 was less than 5. And then what happens to that 2? It becomes a 0. Starting to make sense, guys? We're going to try 3 more. I'm going to give you a few seconds to try these, and then we'll come back and go over the answers. So let's see. 8 and 324 thousandths. We are going to round to the tenths place in this one. I'll go ahead and underline all the places that we are going to round to. Okay, so we have our 3. What number do we need to look at to tell us if our 3 goes up or stays the same? The 2. The 2 tells us that the 3 needs to stay the same. So we keep anything to the left of the digit we're rounding to. Our 2 told us that the 3 needs to stay the same. And how many zeros do I need after my 3? 2, because both of those numbers become zeros. Our next 7 and 243 thousandths. We're rounding to the hundredths place. Our 4 is in the hundredths place. We look at our 3. It tells us that that 4 needs to stay the same. So we keep our 7.2. Our 4 stays the same because our 3 told us so. And then our 3 becomes a 0. Awesome job, guys. All right, let's look at this next one. 2 and 345 thousandths. We're going to round to the hundredths place. Remember, I'm trying to stress that THS so that we know that those numbers are after the decimal. So, we look at the number next to the 4, which is 5. Okay, does it tell us that our 4 needs to add 1 more or stay the same? Add 1 more. So we're going to keep our 2.3 our 4 needs to add one more, so it becomes a 5. And then our 5 that we rounded with becomes a 0. Awesome job, guys. Go ahead and pause the video, and I want you to try these 6 problems on your own. Once you are done, hit play, because we're going to go over the answers, okay? Alrighty. So hopefully you paused the video and you worked those out. So let's go over them. We are rounding to the hundredths place. Our 9 is the number that we're rounding to. So our 4 tells us that the 9 needs to stay the same. So when we round this, it's 3.390. All right, we have 6 and 235 thousandths. We're rounding to the tenths place. So our 3 tells us that our 2 needs to stay the same. So this rounded would be 6.200. 63 and 86 hundredths. We're rounding to the tenths place. The 6 tells us that we need to do what to the 8? Add one more. So our 63 stays the same. Our 8, we add one to, and it becomes a 9. And then anything after 0 is its name. So 63.90. 9 and 513 thousandths. We're rounding to the tenths place. So we need to go next door and look at that 1. It tells us that our 5 needs to stay the same. So when we round, we get 9.500. All right, let's look at 726 thousandths. We're rounding to the hundredths place. And guys, this one does not have a whole number like the rest of ours have, but you do it the same way, okay? When we round to the hundredths place, we need to go next door and look at that 6. That 6 tells us to do what to the 2? Add one more. So that becomes 0.73, because 2 plus 1 is 3, and our 6 becomes a 0. Now we're looking at 85 and 23 hundredths. We're going to round to the tenths place, okay? So our 85 we know stays the same because it's to the left of the number we're rounding. We're rounding to the tenths place, so we need to go next door. What does our 3 tell us that we need to do with that 2? Awesome job, guys. It needs to stay the same because it is 4 or less. The only time that we add one more is when it is 5 or greater, we add one more. Okay, guys? So you're going to have a couple of problems. Try on your own on Wiser right below this. If you have any questions, please message me and let me know. Good luck, and y'all did awesome today.